Quarantine out.
Put them on, mate, and get locked in.
Welcome to Chew the Chat Podcast.
That's what I
brought them.
Fisherman's friends.
So I won't sound like it's talking out my nose.
But yeah, be conscious of, consistently being close to it and not rattling about.
Yeah, man.
That's pretty much it.
I'm made for this shit.
You are, aren't you?
No.
So how you been?
Do you want a fisherman's friend?
No, thank you.
Do you want one, Grant? Or is Grant not here?
Producer Grant.
Yeah. He's here, isn't he?
You can speak to Producer Grant.
Right.
How you been? What you been doing?
Not a great deal. Lockdown.
Reflecting.
Reflecting, yeah. Time spent doing nothing, really. Yeah. Enjoyed it.
Have you been taking up any hobbies? Have you had any things where you like back on the piano, back on a guitar, writing masterpieces? And
No. And you kind of feel like you should be. You know, there's that feeling of, I've got this time, I should learn a new skill, and I thought, you know what, bollocks, no I don't. I just want to do whatever I'm doing, which is predominantly nothing, bit of reading, listening to music, kicking with the kids, but not boxing myself into, I've got this time, I need to learn how to fucking juggle or something, you know what I mean?
And have you been getting up at any particular time? Have you had anything like that going on?
Latest I've got up is probably about 9:30.
Right.
And then sometimes, obviously, normal 6:30. Don't be eating this really when I'm doing this.
You can do what you want, Michael. This is Chew the Chat. Chew the Chat.
Yeah, but if anybody does listen to it, it'd be awful. Listen to me, it's fucking sweet.
Everyone's bored out of their heads, mate. It'll be interesting, won't it?
I'd be bored out by the end of this fucking, or halfway through it, maybe.
I'm just going to press a button.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't be eating a sweet. That's fucking ridiculous.
You can do what you want. I would.
I
fine.
can do, but I could hear it myself. So I'm thinking, if this did go out, you listen to that, you think, fucking do me a favour, stop eating a banana.
Listen, podcasts are all about being real, yeah. And
Yeah,
people are watching, go, fucking hell, people eat food and that.
He's eating Fisherman's Friend, that cunt.
Are they still out? Where the fuck do you get them? Are they special order off like Amazon or something?
Yeah, one of the only shops that you can go in that's not quarantined down. Yeah, check them out. In fact, yeah, you should put them on. You might get. Yeah,
we'll get a bit of sponsorship. Fisherman's Friend, get that fucking.
Get endorsed by him.
Yeah.
If you got as well.
Didn't they used to come in like all sorts of different colours, and you get some that fucking blow your socks off in like a green packet or a brown packet or something?
Meaty ones, but I mean they look horrible.
Are they the brown ones in there?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, yeah, you've got to have them in your life. But
what's the history? Do you know the history of them?
I don't fuck.
So why are they called Fisherman's Friends?
I presume there was you'd take there was handy for the fishermen when they were out in the sea, out on the boat. I don't even know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
You don't want bad breath, do you, when you're lost out at sea?
The reason I bought one because I knew I'd be talking.
Are they mints?
Eucalyptus meant for have one. Yeah, you can't talk about it if you haven't experienced it.
Let me feel one. Let me feel the weight one. Let me feel what we're dealing with.
Yeah, I won't touch it because we're obviously social distancing, aren't we?
Fucking, it looks like a Sumerian relic.
It looks like
that looks like a miniature. What do you reckon, Grant?
It looks like empty.
That looks like a Sumerian tablet, doesn't it, with some fucking hieroglyphic fucking knowledge on it.
Mate,
look at that.
Yeah,
Where is that? Can you see that?
Hard MDNA.
Doesn't it? It does a bit, yeah. It does a bit, doesn't it? Fucking hell, we're not getting out of here.
Well, this is it, you know what I mean?
I remember that smell.
That's what I brought to the party.
A little bit licorice.
You got to try one now. We can't discuss it if you don't.
Fucking hell, it's like a bit of MDF. That's a bit of a football changing room smell.
That's DP. That's a DP vibe. I took you back
I'm
there.
going deeper now, look, Pablo.
Go on.
Ooh.
He's off.
Oh, fucking hell.
Yeah, mint, yeah.
It doesn't seem right that should taste that minty when it's brown.
Well, mentally, I know it's voodoo. That's what it is. But go with it. I mean, the background by the reason I brought him here is because I was due to have an operation on my nose, wasn't I?
Yes.
Just before the lockdown.
Deviated septum.
Yeah. So it sound like I'm talking out my nose for anyone who's listening to this.
Well, why don't you stick
Appreciate
a couple of them at each?
No, I can't talk at all. So anyway, they clear the airways. You know, they're good for that. So
This will make this conversation just flow, won't it? I'm going to bang the over half in.
Oh, don't, mate. You'll be.
Shall wait.
You I won't be.
Just
fun.
half.
See what you see how
I
you
feel
get
in
on
10
with
minutes.
You know the drill.
It's been nice though, eh? Not having to, like you say, not just having to not do something, but like just not having to be anywhere, not having to have any kind of obligations other than like eat some food, make sure kids are all right, you know, read a little bit, and just stopping to fucking think.
To be honest, this was a bit of a bind having to get here for a time.
Yeah, well, isn't it?
It wasn't, but this is the first thing in 5 weeks.
Well, you think about it like, fucking hell, I've got to do something and be somewhere and plan it and think, right, I'll have to do that by then to get that done. Even
though I've done a little bit of that anyway, because you need a little bit of that in your structure of your day. So it's like, I'd say, we've got to be out for 10:30 in the morning. Otherwise, before you know where you are, it's fucking 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And then, we're going out for a dog walk with the kids, and the kids are, you've got to get out in the morning, as we spoke of prior, get out in the morning, for a bit, do your exercise, walk with dog for a couple of miles with them, with the kids, come back, and then your day's your own. You can do what you like. That's what I said to the kids. Go for a walk, do this, we go for a long walk, bit of mess around in the woods or whatever, come back, have a bit of lunch, and then your day's free. You can do what you like. You can play in the garden if it's nice, or play on your screens.
Oh, I've been on the screen, Gorge.
You can't knock them back. You can't knock this.
I've been on the screen in the afternoon.
What screen?
Fucking Jesus. We got a Mega Drive, as you know, right? Yeah. We've got one of them little mini that they do now, the kind of retro throwbacks, but they come USB with the 40 games in.
Right.
We've had that for a little while, haven't we? And the kids have been using that.
Yes, the Mega Drive.
Yeah, well, we got rid of that, and we got a proper old Mega Drive, like literally fucking the original.
Yes.
Which I found with a load of games.
Cartridges?
Yes.
No.
Because the one that come with the 40 games on it, the little mini, which is great, but the variation of games is, you're playing like 5 of the 40 games because they're not the ones you want. Now, of my generation, games like California Games, Olympic Gold, the original FIFAs, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Mortal Kombat, all those kinds of games, and Sonic and Sonic 3 and all that. So we ended up finding this one online. And I said to the kids, like, if you're good, with a bit of pocket money, we'll sell that one. That's why you've looked after it, because, we always wrap the cables around the controllers every time they finish, and they've looked after that little first one. And I said, look, we'll sell that one. What do you mean sell it, Dad? I said, well, we'll sell it. Someone will buy it. We'll take pictures of it and we'll put it up on the internet, and someone will want to buy it for a bit cheaper because it's been used. And then we'll get that money back, and you can put some more pocket money, and we'll get an old one with loads of games that Daddy used to play. And they were like, I started telling them about the games and that. Anyway, that turned up a couple of days ago. Brilliant. Fucking plugged it all in and that.
What FIFA you got on it? 94 or something?
Yes. FIFA International Soccer.
Yeah.
And then FIFA 90... I can't remember which one come first. Was it 93?
94 was the one I remember, being 16.
Yeah, well, Brian Plank. Brian Plank was the fucking German goal-scoring wizard.
They're all that big, and they're actually, you cannot even see people, can you? It's just a fucking...
Well, here's one for you then. So we put that on. We put FIFA on, and it was the international one, FIFA International, and Sonny beat me in sudden death. And you forget, right? You fucking forget how long the half-side is, like 4 minutes and a half, right? Yeah. And because I've played, I haven't played computer games really for 10 years, but even 10 years ago, FIFA on a PlayStation.
You're now justifying the fact that he's beat you. So you're coming.
I'm coming round to that, yeah. I'm coming round to the fact that But like, it is weird because you've played. I remember playing that so vividly, and it's been really nice because those feelings of like being fucking 7 and playing that game or whatever I was, 10 or something, and then having in there playing it. But then for me it was weird because I'd played obviously FIFA up until 2010, I think was the last time I played something like that, and it's obviously very, very good by then. So you go back on this game and you fucking like
rudimentaries.
And your control these control pads are 25 years old or whatever the fuck they are, 20 years old. So the buttons aren't responsive in that, and I'm getting fucking angsty with
30 years,
yeah, something like that. So anyway, sudden death, we can't score a goal. And I can remember there was a way you used to score, wasn't there? I'm sure you used to like come down
the wing, knock it
cut
across.
In the 18-yarder and like
hit one on the angle.
That's it. Well, I was trying that. It was all going to shit. And then in sudden death, he fucking beat me.
Oh, excellent.
But he loved it. Yeah, but we're trying to play Olympic gold. Remember Olympic gold with the fucking...
long jumping.
Yeah, sprint, hurdles, swimming. So they can't get their heads around doing that. I tried it. I could plug that in because that was one of my favourites. the control pads had been too battered, couldn't do it.
Oh no.
So I've had to order a couple of like new joy pads, and I've been like exposed to the whole world of like it's all still happening. Mega Drive, they're all doing all the gear still.
You can get them in the main shops in town and whatnot.
You used to be able to when we used to have shops.
Oh, maybe I've seen the
anymore.
Mega Drive 16-bit in. I will not name it where it is. I suppose it doesn't matter. It matter, does it? We can say shit.
We'll
like
get sponsorship off them. Who is it? Woolies.
Well,
Woolies, mate.
But I've seen them in there. But I presume it was like what you said earlier, that you get that one and it's a version of like you get loads of games built on it. Maybe that's the case.
That's the crap. Well, we ended up with these control pads, and I can remember like because the original control pad only had A, B, and C on it, didn't it? If you remember.
Yes.
And then they brought one out which had A, B, C, X, Y, and Z. So on like games like Street Fighter 2, you could do all the kicking and you had the full range of the buttons. So I've ordered a couple of them. They turned up yesterday. So then we got on Street Fighter 2 again.
Right.
And I got beat on Street Fighter 2 by I know, I'm not doing a great job. But what a lovely that's been our screen time is like on the Master System. And like for me revisiting like California games, trying to do the surfing, trying to remember the buttons. And can you remember the surfing on California games?
That's
BMXing and the what's the one with the bag?
I thought it was about Olympic.
I had Olympic gold as well.
Right, sorry,
Olympic gold.
California,
you California games.
You surfing, that was
the roller skating, BMXing, surfing, half pipe on skateboard.
Yes, and you get scores when you do a trick.
It's been fucking great. And it's literally you got to blow in you have to open the little hatch on the console and blow in there, blow
That's
the cartridge.
part of the game.
You've got to it's part of the ritual. Okay, I'm coming up on this.
I know, yeah. You look at you, you're there, though, can't you? I've had one, mate. You know what I mean? Fucking hell.
But yeah, that's been just fucking really, really good fun. And then them getting frustrated because I'm like, right, we've got like however many games are coming in, like 200 games. So I'm obviously picking out those ones, like the ones that I remember fondly. Right, and trying to get them to play the running and all that. They can't do it. Sick of it.
Mess about.
But it's nice because a day later they've gone straight back to the things they know, which is Sonic and all that. But now I've caught them this morning. They were doing diving on. It was diving.
Olympic game.
It was diving.
Yes, there was got diving on there.
They were doing diving and they come.
The cliff. Oh,
it's proper board.
Oh,
you're in a fucking gymnasium, sports centre somewhere in like fucking Swindon or somewhere. And they come running out this morning. It's like, Daddy, I got a 50 score. I got a 50 score. So it's obviously worked out button bashing and all this.
Yeah.
So that's my screen time's
been half park.
Been that stuff.
Half park.
Have you been playing any computer games?
Have a fuck.
No.
Oh, we have. Yeah. Mario Kart. With Jimmy. Yeah, with my son Jimmy. Yeah.
It's time to have a vape. Yeah. Lick it.
That doesn't look right, does it?
I'll tell you what that is, mate. That is pink.
See that on there?
Himalayan salt, I think.
That's what I said. Is it salt?
It is. Lick it.
Oh yeah.
It is. Lick it. You can lick the lump. It's salt.
You said that, Gran, didn't you? I asked. You was.
It's meant to help set the fucking tone, isn't it, of the environment?
Imagine you had an MD lamp in here.
A bit closer to your mic.
Yeah.
I've been starting to wear this for the odd podcast.
You like Keith Lemon?
Yeah.
It's your fucking tag, isn't it?
Jesus Christ. I've just ragged my fucking finger on the bottom.
Health and safety, innit? But if you put it out, would anyone care?
What?
Like you just injured yourself on that?
No. The fuck, people don't care about other people, do they? Do they?
It's about help the NHS. You can't clap, you can't.
I can't, can I? I've got the clap. Right.
Are we rolling?
Yeah, we're rolling, baby.
All right. Cut that out, mate.
So yeah,
I don't want neighbours get on me.
My screen time's been fucking me basically going back to when I was 10 and watching my kids be there, which is nice, and getting beat by my kids while they do it.
Yeah, me as well, to be fair. We've done a bit of trampolining, done a bit of messing around. Yeah, it's cool. I enjoy it.
Have you been on trampoline?
I've been on trampoline, yeah. We created a couple of games,
right?
Which I'm not going to bore everybody with.
No, I want to know. Let us know, because we might pass them on. There's trampolines every side of
my
long
house. Story short, which is, I don't know if there's a way.
Yeah. What goes up must come down.
Yeah, Jeff, my neighbour, his dog passed away, unfortunately, during lockdown. But he had a dog. He had a load of balls.
Did it have COVID? Did
it? Nah, man, I'm laughing, but it shouldn't be. That's outrageous. No, no. But anyway, he had a basket with a load of balls and shit from my dog. So we gave the kids that. So we got like 185 tennis balls and other dog balls. Put them in the trampoline. And it's dodgeball. So you got to bounce around with loads of balls. If they touch you, you got to be honest. It's an honesty game. Got to be honest. If it hits you, then that's the game, man. So if you get hit 5 times, I'm allowed 6 times because I'm bigger. Because when I bounce, they come closer to me because by definition of the fucking
gravity.
Weight. Yeah. Absolutely. So that's that game. And then just other silly games.
Any accidents? Because trampolines are rife for fucking someone clattering heads. And
there's no accidents. Is
this a trampoline buried in the ground or is it overground?
Have a word with you said. No, it's an overground one. That would be work, wouldn't it? It's an overground one, £100, 10-foot trampoline with a fucking net round it, all health and safety. It probably lasts about.
Kids got high vis and that on when they're on it. Yeah,
absolutely. I have to sign a disclaimer to the mother about it. So. And also, because obviously you don't want to put pressure on the NHS if we have an accident. That's
correct, yeah. You don't want to go up there,
to be honest, we shouldn't be on it.
No.
Really.
You shouldn't be.
Just fucking stay in your house.
Why don't we focus in on the statistics of trampoline accidents?
Fuck no, bring it up.
Bring it up. Drag that up, Grant. Producer Grant. Get fucking how many trampoline accidents are fatal in the UK?
During COVID-19.
Between January and March.
Not that, just to add there, we're not making light of the COVID-19 situation.
We're just joking like people do. Yeah, exactly.
It's a joke, isn't it?
But playing games with the kids outside, so I've been doing the same. We haven't got a trampoline. Our garden's small, as you know. But we've been playing like foxes and hounds.
Yeah.
And tiggy off ground. I've been teaching them like
foxes and hounds in your garden.
No, in the back, out the back here. So obviously where I live, there's like a courtyardy kind of, closed off private area.
Cool, yeah.
So I've been teaching them that you're the foxes, you two are the foxes, me and the little girl will be the hounds, and they've got to go off and hide, and then they've got to get their way back here, before we find them. Blah blah blah. And at first they just couldn't get their head around it at all. Like, I count to 20 and they just pop up from behind cars, screaming and that. I'm just like, no, I've counted to 20.
Zombie game.
Yeah, I've counted to 20. That means now that I'm coming looking for you, so you've got to be really sneaky and quiet. You've got to try and get past here so you don't get caught. So that's been fun. Tiggy off ground, that's been fun.
Yeah.
Bulldog, been playing bulldog.
Tiggy off ground, the kids now do say the floor's lava. That's what my kids do. The floor's lava. You've got to get off the floor. Yeah. Floor's lava in 3, 2, 1. Get off the floor.
That's it.
Yeah.
And then when they are off ground, I don't let them have too much time. They can have like what's sound, and as soon as they tip over the edge, it's at 5, 4, and they've got to go.
Yeah.
Because they just can't sit on the bench or whatever
just chill
it is.
out.
Yeah. It's not on, is it? You know what I mean? We're all like, come on, mate.
Yeah.
So that's been fun. But joking aside, just having that time to play with your kids, just being with your kids, playing with your kids. I think the world over, surely, those who have got kids must have benefited from that, I think.
I'd like to think that. That's what I said to a friend of ours we were speaking to regarding this situation, was that if, obviously, it's horrific that people who have lost people during this, you know what I mean, and people who have been in hospital, and the guys who have worked in hospital, that's, I understand that. But those who haven't been impacted, directly, that take the negative as a positive, you know what I mean, and make, and the time, like I say, I said to you before, I said to Grant earlier, the time I've had is by doing nothing is actually something for me, you know what I mean. This is the best I've felt in fucking 20 years, man, do you know what I mean, because I've actually kind of found myself again to a degree, and just not had to do nothing, like you said earlier, not having to get up at a certain time, not having to do this, not having to do that. I mean, it's not that I don't want to work, as well, I've got a good work ethic. However, I don't want to have to do shit I don't want to do. I felt like I was always doing something, whether it's be work or doing that to be there and with kids, and there's always something to do.
So what have you been listening to them?
Just back to old music I like, the Doves. Doves are a big band for me. Love them. Got a lot of
Well, you sent me Lost Souls, didn't you? And I've been listening to that in the back of that for the last few days. Because when you send me stuff to listen to,
you listen to it.
Yeah.
I do also. To be fair, you know what I mean. I'll listen
listening to the Lost Souls album, which is of course poignant for you and me, because it's the name of a project we were once in together.
Well, I love that band. I watched that band. I mean, when they came, I can't remember when they came out, 98 or whatever it was. I went to watch them at Sheffield, the tiny bit of the uni, and then followed on, 90. No, it wasn't 2000 because I went to watch him. I'm sure it was V2000.
Didn't we go and watch them only 10 years ago, maybe, at the venue in Lincoln at Engine
Yeah,
Shed?
they played the Engine Shed. Yeah, I got that picture.
Because we met them.
Yeah, I put that picture
Jimmy
on Instagram. Yeah, but I watched them from our kid was into him, to be honest, and we went to Sheffield. I can't remember the fucking dates or the venues, but there was Sheffield predominantly. There was in a small venue which held about 400 people. Then it went to the Octagon, or the other university. Then the Octagon was a bigger one, and then me and my old girlfriend Eleanor, we went to watch him. I think it was V99. When I said to you, when they was on the same stage, there was the Doves, Shed 7, James Brown. Well, I think it was James Brown before the Doves and Shed 7. I can't remember exactly because I was fucking wired. Yeah, that was the stage.
Night.
That was that. It was,
James Brown's in the house,
the second stage of the V Festival 2000 or 99 was it was not very big at all. It was, there was probably I don't even know how many people, but it was a small stage to what it is now, and you had Shed 7, Doves, and James Brown as the last 3 acts on that stage. It was a great night, And
what was James Brown like to see live?
Fucking great, man. He's the hardest working man in show business, man. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure the Doves came on. If I remember rightly, Doves were before James Brown, then James Brown, then Shed 7 to finish. They had a few big hits back then.
That seems like the wrong order to me.
Shed
7
headlining, but they
after James Brown.
Yeah, exactly. But James Brown ain't big in England. You know what I mean?
Well, I guess actually thinking about that kind of.
Shed 7 are a band. They're a cool band. They're a great band. They got some great songs. And I mean, I could change Giver album, their first album, some great records. But that's how. But that's how cool it was back then. We had that. The Doves I loved, and then James Brown, never seen him before.
Well, I think the Glastonbury that was going to happen, the 50th anniversary.
That looked pretty good. Yeah.
Looked like that was going to be good. And Macca was there, wasn't he?
Yeah. Macca there, Noel was there, wasn't he? You know what I mean? And then everybody else in between. Yeah. It's amazing. You know what I mean?
So when you've been listening to music in this time, coming back to, I guess, like we talked about with the play, and just kind of having time, like floating, like all of a sudden having time to actually fucking. Almost not have to control your thoughts, just let your thoughts come, because you're always having to plan, like you said, planning this. So when you're listening to music, again, the times we're listening to Spotify links, or someone send you a link to this or a link to that track, and you kind of listen to it on your way to, you're not
immersed,
putting an album on, and the industry will tell us that anyway. It's all about songs until you've done 10 songs, and someone might get your album and stream your album in a continuous listen, maybe. But we've had this time. So have you been laid back and kind of listening to it like once upon a time?
Absolutely, like I was when I lived at my mum and dad's, when I was, you know what I mean? And
the magical time of discovering it.
When I was fucking listening to the Beatles, when I was 12 years old, when our mum had a tape of the Beatles, these songs, Penny Lane and Paperback Writer, this tape I just listened to that, like, what the fuck is that? We're all listening to. Moving through, and then I looked after my brother's flat, and him and his mate Rick Wilson. He had every fucking record. They went to the Tea in the Park Festival in Scotland, and I was only 16.
Crazy, don't they? They reckon that's a great crowd up there.
Absolutely. Well, they went there. I think that was '94, and I was looking after their flat, so I had all of his fucking CDs, and I listened to everything he had, the Jam, everything, Jam Extras album, which I learned from that, and that was just listen to and just experience it for the first time, and you can't go back to that. You'll never go back to that. But how I found this in this lockdown period is the opportunity just to listen to, and then when we spoke originally about what I was going to come and talk about was, can you do an album?
We were going to discuss an album, weren't we?
Just one album, and not the album that was Define Me, because I couldn't come up with that, and nor could you. But it was, and then I'm listening in the garden to the one in Rainbows, the Radiohead in Rainbow, Ben's in Rainbow's Radiohead. Ben's Radiohead. I listened to that. Listen to an Elbow record, listen to Stone Roses record. I'm thinking, how can I even do this any justice talking about it? Doves as well. I'm just thinking, I haven't got there isn't the words, like I said to Grant earlier.
That's a testament in itself.
Because it isn't. You can't, it's like great art or anything like that. It's a feeling, it's a fucking thing. You can't describe it to somebody. The best thing I can say, like I said to Grant earlier, I said, look, this is a fucking great album, check it out.
Yes.
That's about where it starts and finishes for me, because that's it. And if you, like you say to me, oh, check out his podcast, it's fucking great, they talk about this, that and the other, that's it. And then, or check out this video or this film.
Well, I try and articulate the feeling badly, and that's what I'm learning from doing more reading, because I've been reading more, especially now as well. Is like trying to make the effort to get my language to a point where I can try and at least share some of that feeling.
But do you need to? I don't think you need to.
I think you do to a degree. I think you do. I think if we were all still grunting, the world wouldn't be a
agreed.
magical
But
place,
do you need to kind of analytically analyse?
No, it's not about analytically. I'm just talking about expressing my feelings. You know, like I feel like this, and when that happens, it makes me feel like this, and I kind of see this, and I picture.
Well, you've always been like that. I get that.
Visual like that. But the more I read, and the more I'm reading, you know, whether it's whatever it is, fucking philosophy based, or it's just science, even, like there's something about the language, the art of getting language out, because that is all we've got, because those feelings that you talk of is what we are. You know, and the reasons you've got writers, and you know, and you've got,
because they can express that.
Because they've somehow managed at least to gather up this little pittance of something that we have got, which is words that we
vocabulary,
that we put this meaning on and bestow fucking memory, and they can do something with those words that at least I can hear them. Like Kermode, we talk about Kermode on the film review podcast sometimes, and he's you know,
he can nail it to tell you about
love him or hate him. He's a critic. You can't please the people, right? But sometimes when he weaves words in that and paints pictures with those words to you know, of that thing, that it's not him telling me it's like this, and it is. Sometimes he is, but you know, generally speaking, he's just, the feelings are being articulated, and I find that helpful, and it makes me want to be better at doing it, and not having the feelings just, I don't know, just trapped in it.
No, well, I get that from you. With me and our friends, you've always had that to say, you know, I'm into this, check this out. You got that feeling, it bubbles inside you, so you try and articulate that across. For me, that isn't, I don't have that. I have, fuck me, this blows my mind. Check that out. That's all I've got to say about it, because I try to do that on this prior to this podcast with you, as you said, because you knew I wouldn't want to come on unless I talked about something not personal. So it was a case of but then when I listened to the guys these people who make these records, and then the records that these guys are making that I wanted to talk about, they don't really know where the fuck it comes from. So how the fuck am I going to articulate that, the feeling that I get from this record across? Maybe they do know where it comes from. I don't know. But for me, the feeling that I get from music or art, or, you know, Peter Hoxton, or what the things I love, there is no describing it. It's a feeling, and you can't describe that. It is something that's just fucking mind-blowing.
Okay, then, on that, so listening to music, you're listening to a hell of a lot of music at the minute, and you're somehow rediscovering those really strong feelings and thoughts and the energy that comes through from listening to music when you're young. So wouldn't it be a nice thought to think that maybe there's lots of people doing that in the UK? Maybe there's lots of people, lads, dads, you know, mums, who are working hard and don't get the time, you know, and all of a sudden they are laid in the garden, and maybe they listen to 2 or 3 albums back to back that reminded them of what they were when they were 22, 23, and they were just starting their family. You know, and like what reflection. That can do, that reflection, which I think this time off, in the positive side of its events, is that if we do stop to take stock a little bit and look at things and maybe go, wow.
Yeah, I mean,
we can take that into whatever this future is going to look like.
What is it? There's a film, there's a quote in it. If you don't take time to stop and look around, you might miss it. I think it's Ferris Bueller's Day Off that says it. You know what I mean? I loved that film when I was a kid, and you know, and that is threaded through everything. Whatever you're into, whether spiritually. If you don't look around and appreciate where you're at,
be in the moment,
absolutely. But we don't, and you know, I'm as guilty. I don't, you know, but I'm working on it, you know, because you need to appreciate, and like Alan Watts, which you turned me onto, and things like that.
That powerful Alan Watts is in the production booth with,
do you know what I mean?
Producer Grant over there.
Grant, you know, and if you've got to because you'll miss it all because you think like we discussed before. Oh, what we'll do? Yeah, I'll work really hard and I'll get this, I'll get that, and then I'll be 60 and I'll retire early and then I'll enjoy my life. Too fucking late, brother, because you missed it.
And it's unfortunate that narrative is what is kind of given to us as the map, as the roadmap, as the kind of like work hard, get your money, and have your 2 weeks off.
Yeah. Oh,
great. I think in Europe we're one of the hardest hitting for hours and pushing our workforce and stuff. But I mean, listen. Hopefully, when we the people, I don't mean the establishment and whatever's going to happen, vaccines or fucking applications, where who knows. But like us as we the people, having some sovereignty back over yourself in that way.
Yeah.
Like not just having to do humans doing. Now we're kind of humans being again, aren't we? And that's a lovely way.
That's what I've got from this, is to be doing nothing is actually doing something. And people need to think about that, because that's what I found, is doing nothing is doing something, because that nothingness is...
It's the important balance. It's the important balance to being on the go.
You don't have to be fucking washing the pots. You don't have to be making tea. You don't have to be going to that fucking zoo. You don't have to be doing that. You need to just be. Whether you're reading a book and the kids are all right and you're doing this, that and the other. The thing is, it's all condensed down to 2 days a week, which is fucking shambolic, because you 5 days you got to go do work. Yeah.
Oh, you're up to your neck anyway.
So you got 2
then
days
you've got
a
the
week.
kids clubs and
and then you got Saturday, which is like you say, probably a kids club on a Saturday morning, whatever. Then you got to get shopping in, and whether you might get it online if you got your whatever. But then you got there's Saturday night and we do this, we have a takeaway, and then Sunday that's the easy day. That's not enough. No. You know what I mean?
And that's for a lot of people who haven't even got that Saturday. A lot of people have just got that one day on the rotation.
Absolutely. So
if it would be nice. It would be nice to think that, collectively, we the people have enough good experience that we carry that through, and then maybe that momentum pushes our general society, our political, facet of society to think, because they're talking to us through the television and saying that we're doing a great job and we're adhering to save lives, and that is important, and they are themselves pointing to the benefits of like
stay at home with your
community
family.
And people giving each other respect and clapping for the NHS, and we're recognising all these things, as did New York in the wake of 9/11.
It's gratitude,
like appreciating what you've got. So I'd like to think, as we've mentioned there, we the people carry it through, but then maybe the establishment look at it and say, okay, people, it was better. People were together. People were fucking connected a little more once upon a time. So maybe we can look at some kind of a structure. Maybe we can take half a working day away from, what I mean? It's a nice thing to think, but in the end, man, economics.
The analogy I've
it's always going to be tricky.
Is it an analogy or what? The story I spoke to a friend of mine. I said to him, it's like the old adage of you go to a funeral and you're like, fucking hell, we should meet up. We should do, we should. Why are we not seeing each other anymore? You know what I mean? And they're like, yeah, what we'll do, we'll meet every month. What happens? You might meet the month after, because you're still mourning the small one. You're still mourning, and then the month after that, you get back into your old fucking routine, and you're worried about because you can't be arsed. I'm knackered because I've got to do this, that, and the other. And that's the system. What we're doing is the work. We've got to do this, that, and the other to get this, that, and that. And then, but there's no time for that community. There's no time for that family.
Well, I hope. Excuse me, 2 secs. That the government, like I say, the establishment, our structure allows some of that to come into this new world.
Well, as you spoke of before about the Europeans with the 4-day weeks and stuff, that's something I really need to look at. We spoke to our friend Grant over there about it. He only works part time, and that's, there's 7 days in a week. 8 days a week, as the Beatles said, you know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely. A hard day's night.
So, 7 days in a week. So, how the fuck do you work 5 and not have 2 off? How do you not work 4 and have 3 off, at least? Because that's still a fucking differentiation between working and not working.
Yeah.
You still 5 and 2. That don't even make sense.
Well, maybe that is something that we'll move towards. I'd like to think so. So, you mentioned film as well. You said about you mentioned film when we were talking.
When we spoke, yeah, but I've not really watched anything.
Have you watched any?
I watched that Lee Mans.
Because you're not really big, or you don't watch a lot of stuff anyway, do you?
Not really a TV man or a film man, but I am. If it, I'm a little bit. It's a strange one for me because it has to be pretty fucking mean something for me to get really into, and like which is probably to my detriment really, because I will miss out on a lot of stuff because I maybe would watch films that aren't really going to blow your mind, but you'll get something from them. Mm-hmm. But I kind of, I'm looking for a Shawshank Redemption every time I watch it. If it ain't that, then I'm fucking like.
Well, that's kind of nice in a way, and and enjoying these kinds of moments. I mean, how nice is this to just
cool, man.
Fucking be across from a human that you care about.
A bit weird at first.
Have a drink, and but I just mean generally, Michael. Do you know what I mean? Like I think we've talked about the positives, and people are in the gardens. It's been really nice, and but we do need one another as well. You know what I mean? Like, I think the break's great. It's nice to sort of not have to, especially when you've got your family and you're at home with your family. You like shut off. That's lovely. But community, your friends as well, and that's really important. And this is really nice. And I'm looking forward to being able to just, see people, have good food, have a talk. You know what I mean? And
but again, for me, that is I take it or leave it to a degree. I'm not a socialite, I like the fact that I do what I
built for this, weren't you? You were built for fucking.
I am. I fucking love it, man.
You're like a hillbilly fucking prepper.
Yeah, I don't have to deal with no fucking dickheads I don't need to deal with. You know what I mean? Even though I'm probably the dickhead. Well, it's not about. I like being. That I know cunts coming knocking on my door when I don't want them to see when I'm in my pants and watching a film or watching. I don't need
the one time you were watching a film, you were just laid in the sofa in your pants.
Watching the same film I watched 15 years ago. You know what I mean? Because I don't.
No, it's been a really nice time with the family. I've enjoyed the screens. I've enjoyed the records. You've sent me some records. Other friends of ours have sent records over that they're listening to and enjoying, and you kind of go on that little trip with them, and that's nice. Yeah. I think the weather's been. I've said this on this podcast a couple of times. The sun gods have been with us because I honestly believe that this 6 or 7 weeks that we have sort of adhered to doing the right thing. I think that would have been really hard for us if it had been grey and miserable.
Well, the past couple of days has been here where we are, isn't it? It has been a little bit. It has been miserable.
But imagine 6 or 7 weeks of that though, and you can't get. I think that it's
awful.
It's really that's been an insight as to what an impact like that seasonal element is as well. And the freedoms that we enjoy of seeing one another and being able to go somewhere.
For me, that comes back to the innate thing of as humans. Whether you're a caveman, when it's sunny. We can go out. You can forage. You can hunt. It's not a surprise. When
it looks better, even just visually, like the sun glistens, the sun bounces off, it brings the colours out.
Well, you get your vitamin D or whatever it is. There's a vibe there. But when it's fucking miserable, even back when the cavemen were doing this shit, they probably wouldn't go hunting. They go, we've got a little bit of fucking leg left. We'll stay in because it's raining. You ain't gonna go out. It's innate to us that we are mammals, and when it's fucking cold and wet and miserable, you stay in.
We won't be
warm. You know what I mean? Yeah. And in the winter, fucking hedgehogs, they hibernate. We are mammals the same as them. That's what we used to do.
You've been watching a lot of Attenborough, haven't you?
I haven't. I knew this shit. And you just know it's innate.
No, you're right.
Innate knowledge.
Right. I think it seems to come back around full circle in a way, like to everything that keeps, for me at least, coming to the surface, which is this whole thing has connected us again to the simpler things a little bit.
I think so. Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, I think it has.
But for me, in my, it's done me. I've done me well because I just had a little bit of self-reflection, listen, and just took a bit of time.
And let your body repair as well.
Absolutely. I mean,
everyone's circadian rhythms. I mean, I know it's a bit weird because we all get a bit guilty because you're no longer getting up at 6, 5:30, 7, whatever it is. You get up and go to bed at that time. But our circadian rhythms are just working on what they are now for most of us. Most of us are waking up. You might be waking up at 8:45.
Well, it's naturally. That's how you should wake up.
And you're going to sleep a bit later. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, naturally,
so the body's like getting to recalibrate itself, and I think that's beneficial. I think that's probably as a collective energy for people to kind of just again simply get back to like the body's timetable.
Sam, you're meant to go to sleep when you sleep. You're meant to wake up when you are meant to wake up, not because of a fucking iPhone alarm. That's not how it works. You're meant to go to sleep, and then when you wake up, you wake up. You know what I mean? And, you know, and we have to put this fucking alarm on, and we wake up, you know. It's not how it's meant to be.
We're going to start a commune at this rate, aren't we?
Well, we're not because we know how it is. We're going to go back to what we do. But what I do hope that what comes out of this is that people understand, or not people, or me at the very least, or that it doesn't matter that we haven't got this, that, or the other. Just, you know, be with your family, the time we've had here, your holidays abroad and all this bullshit, your Range Rover, and it don't mean shit, man, because we're all in the same boat. Just fucking be together.
Be one. Yeah.
Absolutely, man. Be with your kids, because, you know, when they fuck off to university and stuff, that's it, they're gone. Like you always said that to me, and that's resonated with me. That
This time is just
when you're cuddling
it's
your
like
kids,
sand through your fingers. It's just passing.
But you can't be arsed cuddling with your kids. I'm as guilty as anybody. You know, like fucking I've got. He wants me reading my story, and I can't be arsed, and we all do it. You know what I mean? So just fucking, you know, because it don't matter.
So what about Michael? What about fitness? Have you been training? Have
Yes,
you been
I
doing
have.
any
Yes,
training?
yes,
have you been
I have.
watching? Have you been keeping up with the boxing stuff?
How the fuck are you even
You
asking
do look well.
me?
You look well. You look well.
Yeah. I put on a bit of weight. I'm the heaviest I've ever been in my life. I train every morning. Got the dumbbells. I've looked on YouTube, changed some little YouTube things. You know, working on the shit. Yeah, man, love it. I went on my bike up the hill yesterday, which nearly fucking killed me. My chest was dying.
Proper incline? And
yeah, man, it killed me. But it's and I've been doing training. A lot of training.
And have you been keeping up with the boxing in terms of Matchroom? Because obviously you're a big boxing fan.
I love that.
Eddie
Yeah,
Hearn. And it's weird, isn't it, not having that going on? Like I'm the same. I love my boxing, but I'm more MMA based in what I like to follow and that. And it's just.
But I've watched everything that they've been doing, and like Tony Bellews in the SAS thing.
Yes, that's
with
been
Ant Middleton,
interesting.
that was nice.
That's interesting. Two episodes in, are we?
Yeah, two. Yeah.
I found
next one tomorrow, Monday. Yeah.
Yeah, I found that I watched. I don't know if you might have been sent me it. I watched one of Eddie Hearn's Matchroom because they've been sort of using their work. You know, they've pivoted a bit, haven't they? And they've started making a lot of
Fair
TV
play.
kind of content.
Eddie Hearn that's the kid he is. You know what I mean? He's looking at now doing the gig, doing the fights with White and Povetkin, doing it on a obviously closed door situation because they want to come back with a bang.
Yeah.
You watch it. I don't need to tell you, but how he's going to do it, whether he's going to have a crowd. But we can't have a crowd. Whether he's going to put a crowd sound, he's going to do something. He's looking.
Yeah, I like what he's doing with it, and he's maximised what he can do at the minute. They've been making a lot of kind of TV based interview stuff, and he's made some cool little shows. And I think one I saw was with him and Bellews.
Yes. There was Ant Middleton.
Ant Middleton came on, yeah.
Excuse me.
And we've had a bit of a joke in the past, haven't we, with Ant Middleton and that show, and like
you love it, yeah.
I'd love to go on it. I'd love to go on it before I'm too old, just because I think it must be so difficult.
Callum Johnson's on my Instagram. He's a great kid. He's done some great thing for the NHS. He's done the triathlon and stuff.
Right.
Callum Johnson has, and he wants to go on it as well.
Oh yeah, he would do well.
That's what it's called a kid you're dealing with, don't it?
Yeah,
so you don't want to do it.
No, I mean, I was saying to producer Grant earlier, I was saying about doing it. And I went training with a friend of ours who we know up the road, who's military. And I trained with that gentleman, and he beats me. Yeah, of course. Yeah. And I was on an air bike, like 20 minutes into a half-an-hour session, dying. And then I started thinking about that SAS and thinking, what am I thinking?
You think
because the mental strength, like Tony Bellews mentioned it in this Eddie Hearn interview, where he said that show. It's only giving you a fucking glimpse
of it, yeah.
He says because the sleep deprivation, like sleeping in your clothes, fucking wet,
getting ragged out of bed. Bellews.
But no, but
that's
to be fair to him,
well,
it is. But I love the fact that that's the shining the light straight in there. It is that.
I love Bellews.
You see those 50-minute-hour episodes. And they're immersive, and we all sit at home and we all go, "Oh, I'd love to do that," and I reckon I could do that. I could be in that.
Piss it.
But if you stuck your toe in that cold lake on a the edge of the earth in Scotland,
nail it.
and you got to lay back. Well, let's get you signed up.
Yeah, fucking sign it up now. Go on.
But I've really...
Producer Grant, do it. No, what a fuck. No, fair play, Bellews. I love Bellews. I love the fact that Bellews fucking steamed out, didn't he? Can you see him on the first episode?
Oh, when the guys were boxing him.
Yeah. But I like Bellews. He's a geezer. He tells it how it is.
And coming back to that interview with Eddie Hearn, there was a really magnanimous air about him, and he was really humble. And he said,
is, man.
He said, it's given me so much doing that show. He says, like, you know, it's really.
I mean,
give him a lot.
Let's be honest about Eddie Hearn, right? People give him a bad fucking slap, but he don't need to fucking do what.
Do they though? I don't really.
I think they do. They do, Eddie Hearn, but not in England so much, but. He don't give a shit. He's got enough money anyway. You know what I mean? What the things that he's trying to do, he don't need to be something else because he's got enough money. If it's about the money, it'd be sound. And people are saying, "Oh, you want to be a fucking promoter? You want the money?" Don't need that, mate. You know, he's trying to promote the sport and trying to do different things. I think, I got a lot of time.
I think he's had a good wise eye on two things. He's following the trends of the internet and the young generation.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he's following the lead of
the businessman
of the UFC and Dana White and that whole model of like not just the fighting, but the media presence, exploiting social media.
He's made no secret of that when he went over there and he said that these guys have got it going on, so this is what I'm going to do. But that's what I love because it's honesty, you know. When he does that IFL TV stuff with Coogan Cassius.
Mm-hmm. Big shout out Coogan. Coogan's a shout out on this
Coogan's
podcast.
Cool, yeah, and Boxing Social, love Boxing Social. He's cool. He just says the same shit, you know. He's proper, he's honest, and I like that by him. You know, I think he's cool. He's fucking multi-millionaire.
I think British boxing's exciting.
He's multi-millionaire, Eddie Hearn, and whether we can relate to him or not, those who are.
Do you listen to his podcast
on Matchroom? Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a podcast. No, before.
I think
he interviewed Gallagher. Yeah, he did Noel Gallagher. He did Wayne Rooney. I thought it was really interesting. I'm just trying to think of the name of it for people listening, watching. I'll link it in the notes. But you again with podcasts, what you do get, you get an insight to him. You do get like what you're kind of saying there. You're kind of defending him in a way against naysayers and stuff. People who think he's just a phony kind of promoter. When you see his podcast and when you see him talking to people outside, you think no, he's cool, he's interesting.
He's cool, mate.
He's got an appetite for just getting shit done.
If you rang him up right and said, look, I'm really interested in this. You know, we got like Shannon Courtney, got other like these got not so much the fucking they are now the mainstay of the female boxing stuff. But if you said to him, you rang him up, there's jobs on Matchroom. If you rang him up and said, look, you know, I need a job, I want to do this, I'm this kind of guy, I want to try, I want to do something, I got the impression that he would give you a chance. You know what I mean? That's the thing with him. You know what I mean? I do. And there's many jobs on the Matchroom website. I would look. I thought about it. I thought, man, I'll give him a shout.
Well, you know, he's doing good with the entertainment. He's pivoted like people have. They've pivoted.
He's a good guy, though. That's what I get.
And he's trying to keep people busy, and he's putting content out. And he's trying to keep growing his brand and not get stuck. And I appreciate that. And like you say, the Bellews thing with the SAS, I'm pretty sure Bellews will do well. I imagine that he's got a fucking strong will, and it'd be interesting to see how that plays out. With regards to coming back to kind of
music.
No, not music as such, but with us feeling like next week we're going to get like probably an announcement from the government that's going to say something like, we're going to start moving out of this thing. You know, I felt myself, this whole podcast about like just being outside, just listening to music, just not being stuck in anything other of that process in mind. I felt that process in mind start to creep in this week where I'm like, right, I probably need to get in that office next week. I need to start thinking about making phone calls and putting things in place. And that feeling alone is quite depressing. Is you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But is it? Obviously, I know it's inevitable, and obviously, once I get going, I'll be fine, and it's all good and it needs done. But
we'll be fine.
But coming back to what you're saying is like it's kind of I can feel it polluting that feeling that you've spoken about on this podcast about just not having to process and be and do. And it's not because we're work shy. It's not because it's just because to be a human being is like you need the time to be. And that idea of going back in the next couple of weeks kind of made me.
We spoke before, and I sent you a few records that Nick Drake album, which I'd like to discuss now.
Nick Drake,
you know what I mean? You know, and Pink Moon and stuff like that. Great album.
Well, I did a podcast yesterday which is probably going to be out prior to this one as per recording with Sam Griffiths, who's the lead singer of the How and the Hum. And you're a big Nick Drake fan. Yeah. I'm a big Nick Drake fan. I'm a big Howl and the Hum fan, so I was a bit fanboyed out when I was doing this interview. A few days ago. Anyway, we get chatting, and we're on a webcam, obviously, and we're chatting away. And then Sam leans over, and pitched up on his radiator in the background, I see a Pink Moon vinyl.
Nick Drake.
And I was like, I said, is that Nick Drake? He said, oh yeah. He said, that's probably one of my favourite albums. And I was like, no way. And then we went on, as you'll listen. I mean, as you're in this room, Michael, doing this podcast, the one with Sam will be out prior to this one, so you'll be able to listen to that play out, because the Beatles are a big part of that, that conversation. And it's really intriguing to hear so many parallels, musically. It was really quite a surprise, because I love that band, the Howl and the Hum, Sam's band.
As I do.
As you do, yeah. And it was really interesting to hear his kind
You
of...
told me about the Howl and the Hum, wasn't it? Well, you went to watch them with Boys Uga, wasn't it?
Yes,
tell the story.
That was it.
Tell people.
That was it, yeah. Well, I kind of went through it on Sam's podcast, but yeah, people who would have heard it before this, yeah. We went to see Boys Uga, saw the support band, as you do, and I'm not gonna lie, I didn't check who was playing. I wasn't checking out. We got in there, they were on, and I looked at my friend, and he looked at me, and it was like, wow. Halfway through with the first song, it's like, these are good, and this is what I told Sam on the podcast. I was like, this is the fucking real deal. Sometimes.
You fucking know. When you know.
Yeah,
that's it. Don't matter.
Because it's that feeling. So we're back to that part of the podcast where you're like...
You don't have to explain it.
What you are, though, this is where I come back to the bit where I want to articulate it nicely, because... And Sam and I talked about it. No, but seriously, because...
You can't articulate it.
No, but when you come back from that gig and you've seen a band and they've made you feel a certain way, and you want to tell someone, as I did you in this case, and as you have done to me about other bands, it was like, fucking hell, you've got to see this band, because, they did this, and this song was like that, and it was like, so when I spoke to Sam himself and said that, I think one of the things you'll remember when I tell you now is that I said to him, I said on the podcast, I said it was weird because I was looking at you and you reminded me of, and I said, I hope you don't mind me saying, like, but you were like a cross between Kurt Cobain and Deirdre Barlow. Because he's got his big glasses. He's got these big glasses.
He did, yeah.
He's got this very awkward movement. But
big trousers up here.
Yeah. But like the Kurt at the time, anyway, because he's got different haircuts now. But at the time, he had the Kurt Cobain sort of blonde hair, very very sculptured face. He's a handsome devil. but he had the big glasses, and like the way he was moving had this really awkward energy. And I was like mesmerised. I said, Tommy's like, fuck. That's. And I said this to Sam himself. Talking to Nick's, I was listening earlier. I was listening to Nick Cave in the back garden, and I had Ghosteen popped on. I think I mentioned it to you, Grant, didn't I? When Ghosteen come on.
That record is something else. I went after you told me about it.
Ghosteen.
I love it. I seen you Grinding Man. I was into Nick Cave, Grinding Man. In the bands that we were in. And I never heard
No Pussy
that record.
Blues.
Yeah, No
tune.
Pussy Blues. What a tune.
Fucking
love it.
Tune,
Yeah, fucking rock and roll. Yeah. Then you listen to Ghosteen and you understand what he's talking about, and it's a fucking different level.
It's so powerful.
For
people listening, again, we're back.
Son Arthur.
We're back to our dilemma here now of like, you just say it's really good, go and listen to it, and I'm like, fucking hell, it hit me because it's fucking.
But this is different for me. I would not say the same for this album.
So you would feel you're compelled.
I would tell you a story on this.
Yeah, because it's so powerful, and it's what
man. This album.
Nick Cave, for people listening, watching, Nick Cave obviously is famed for his kind of very avant-garde,
this album,
poetic, kind of morbid almost, kind of songwriting and sonics and stuff, and very. It can be very descriptive and critical and magical and very very arty, poetic. But in this record in particular, in the aftermath of him losing
his son Arthur,
his son who was a twin, Arthur was a twin at 15 years old. This record is kind of, I think, 3 years or so after that, and it not in a concept clinical fashion, but it seems to kind of map the whole, what I can only imagine
is
a whole field of emotions that you must go through in grieving and coming to terms with something just like seeing your own child leave the earth. And that record
is fucking amazing,
absolutely fucking mind-bendingly beautiful and touching and just real and pure and raw.
Oh, mate, isn't it? It makes me cry.
Must listen to Ghosteen.
It makes me cry.
Yeah,
You know
it's
what I mean?
something
I listen to
else.
them songs and no.
So how do you then, being somebody who's quite particular about how they listen and where they listen? Well, you are, because you like to be in a certain headspace and things. So how do you go about listening to a record like Ghosteen?
Ghosteen, I went walking up the hill and
So
I just
you've gone
listened
off
to it.
on your own. You're in nature.
Yeah. I can't listen to it at home.
Yeah, you're not going to put it on while you're washing up.
No.
No.
I think you don't even need to ask that question. Producer Ron, you're laughing. You know that. When I walk to listen to Ghosteen, I'm listening to that because it's a fucking different game.
Well, my wife, I introduced
That blew
to it.
my fucking mind, mate.
Well, my wife was somewhere. She was waiting for something, and she was sat about. And at the time I was on a kind of a. Often when I get into something or somebody, I'll go into like my own little sort of rabbit hole. And at the time, I think Dave McGregor, episode 9, Tudor Chat podcast, David McGregor. Again, go back, listen to it.
Check
if you
it out,
haven't.
check
You
it
must
out.
listen to that. But David talks on there about. He talks about. Fucking hell, where was I going with that, Michael?
We're talking about Nick Cave and that record.
Nick Cave, that was it. I told Dave, because we often ping like we do, ping records back to one another. And I pinged him Ghosteen over, and I gave him a little bit of.
But he knew about it, didn't he?
But
Because he got married to that.
He knew about it, and he came back to me and said, "Oh wow, I didn't know he'd done a record since his son had died." And I was like,
What the fuck?
Whoa!
Yeah.
And he says, "Oh yeah," he says that'll make sense why he's called it Ghosteen, I would imagine. So then I went on a rabbit hole, and I started reading all these articles, and he'd written an open letter into one of his fans that was beautiful. And
Yes.
my wife was waiting for something, and I ended up sending her this stuff. She says, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm listening to this record." And I sent it to her, and then I sent her the articles, and she was like really touched by it. And then some weeks later, she'd gone to pick her mother up from the airport, come to visit us from Thailand. And they're on the M25 trying to come back on a Friday night, like 9:30 at night, and there's been a crash, okay, and they're backed up on the M25. And she said they were, for ages and ages, she said, as they got closer, they realised there was a crash. And she said she just felt compelled to put the Ghosteen album on and tell her mum about it. She said, look, we've been listening to this, and they talked about what might have happened with families, this incident that's happened at the side of the road, and they kind of like tuned into the reality and the truth and the vibe of like somebody somewhere tonight is feeling like, and she said, this is what he's talking about, this feeling. And she put it on, and her and her mum were coming back to Lincoln, and they had a real powerful moment, and I was like,
fucking get the fuck out of here.
So my question to you is, Michael Mckeirnan, me listening to that record and going, fucking hell, this record, Alex, you've got to listen to it. This has happened, and the power, because we've got children. So me trying badly to articulate like how it felt to me to, because my wife's, probably most guys' wives aren't going to go in deep on Nick Cave. Well, listen, I think we're getting ready for party time, aren't we? So let's wrap it. You seem like you've had a good.
I've had a great time.
You've had a great time. Well, not just tonight, but I mean in this lockdown, and you've had.
I loved it. It's lovely.
It's lovely seeing people have enough time to stop and fucking take stock, stop to think, maybe dust off a few cobwebs, maybe, rearrange a few situations, and that I love that. I think that's, if we've got that collectively, we're on a good run out of here, whatever that is, aren't we? Yeah.
Peace.
Good to be back.
Peace. Thanks, Joe, didn't it?
Thank you very much. Peace.